All right, let's talk rats. So I finally jumped into a Plague Tale Requiem. Now, I didn't play the last one. Was it a Plague Tale Innocence? So jumping in completely fresh. All I knew was that it involved rats, and like a lot. And they weren't kidding. So the way I imagine it and the way that I see it as I'm playing the game is like that scene in World War Z where they're running through the town and then that pile of zombies just like falls through the alley and they're chasing them. That's how the rats feel. And it just adds this like degree of dread that you didn't know would be possible when thinking about rats. Because, you know, World War Z, that's zombies. But this is rats. And just seeing them come in a way... The presentation for this game is just immaculate. It was so much fun. And one thing I really appreciate, and I know it's hard for games. I'm not really sure why I don't make games. But it's really hard for them to get character interactions right and them come off really natural. And I feel like Amicia and her little brother, it feels so real. That brother-sister bond feels legitimate. Like watching it, playing it, you really get that sense that, okay, she really cares about him. He really cares about her. Like he is her whole world. Her whole existence is to protect him and make sure the world is safe for him. You can feel that. I mean, the starting scenes of the game, they're playing around he's pretending to be a king and she's pretending to be like his protector. And you can just see it in the dialogue and the interactions. Like, yeah, that would make sense. They're in a really bad world. I mean, the world's a bad place. And so she's doing her best to protect her little brother from that so that he can, despite everything going on, so that he can enjoy his life somewhat. And you can feel it. It's done so well. Like, it's amazing. It's so good. And the game itself, I was very pleasantly surprised. So going into it, besides the rats, I knew there wasn't a lot of combat in the typical sense. So it wasn't, a hack and slash or an RPG, like going with 12 weapons and then swap and use ability. No, there's some combat, but it's not really the focus. And I don't mean like you're encouraged to do stealth mechanics, which you are, but it's your choice. Hey, you can approach this in a stealthy manner, or you can try and, take everyone out. But it's not easy. You feel the struggle because she's, you're not playing as Dwayne Johnson, this just massive, I'm going to destroy everything. No. She's maybe 110 pounds. I mean, she's not, hitting the gym 4 hours a day. She's not some assassin. She doesn't have any powers. So you got to really work out how to get by these, armored up soldiers with swords and weapons. And it makes for a really interesting combat gameplay. And I love it. I really do. I didn't expect to love it. I really didn't, because I enjoy combat in games. Like that's a lot of the focus, and that's a lot of what I love. If it's got really good combat, I'm probably going to love it. And so going into this, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, it's got to be done right, because otherwise I'm not going to love it. And the dread of not only the rats, but okay, there's 3 guys. In any other game, 3 guys, that's easy. But all I have is this one-use knife in case I'm about to die, and a sling, which if they're armored up, I mean, what is that going to do? A whole lot of nothing. So it gives you this feeling of, all right, you need to be really intentional with your gameplay. Really intentional. If you take him out, he's going to hear it, and he's armored from head to toe, so how are you going to deal with that? Oh, by the way, there's rats over there. So you can't run that way, because if you're running from him, you're going to run into some rats, and then they're going to eat you, and you're going to die. It's very intentional, and I like that. It almost reminds me of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I know a lot of people didn't like it because the last Star Wars game like that where you played as just like a powerful Jedi or Sith. Force Unleashed, right? Totally different game. Hack and slash, you're uber powerful. Jedi Fallen Order, you got to be a lot more meticulous. You got to be a lot more careful with, all right, I got to time this parry. What attack am I going to use? What kind of attacks does this enemy use? You got to be very intentional with your gameplay. And that's how this felt. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. It felt real. It felt like, okay, I need to hide because if they find me and they catch me, I'm going to die. There's no, scapegoat. There's no, in Batman Arkham, if you're surrounded or whatever, you can drop a smoke bomb and like grapple up. No, there's none of that. If they find you and catch you, you're done. If you don't have that one-time use knife, you're done. And so feeling that while you're playing, it's one of those moments where you lean forward and then you get comfy and you're like, all right, it's intense now because I need to focus. It's on. I got that the entire time. It felt so good. So good. And that's just the non-rat gameplay. The rat gameplay, the way that they just made the rats interact with everything, I loved it. I loved it. The first time you encounter this flood of rats, like I said, it is a flood. It's not like, oh, there's 20 plague rats. No, it's a flood. They're everywhere, the entire floor. And you're walking through them with a torch, and they're just surrounding you. Just outside that ring of light from the torch. Utterly terrifying. Terrifying. It reminded me of that scene from the last Indiana Jones where the giant ants are swarming and the guy holds out the crystal skull and the ants go around the skull and they're just making like this little circle around, just enough to stay away, but like 1 foot out and you're screwed. That's how it felt. You're walking through with this torch and it's just like, ugh. One wrong move and you're eaten to death by these millions of rats. And I never would have thought I would have been sitting here talking about how good a game with rats is. Like that's the main pull is, hey, you got to survive the rats. I wouldn't have thought that, but it is so good. Now, obviously it's not perfect. The whole combat thing, that's probably going to turn a lot of people off because I expected it to turn me off. So I'm sure that's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you give it a chance, it's really good. It makes you focus. It makes you be very careful with your actions, what to press, what to throw. Can I distract them with this rock over here? Like, it's nice. It's very refreshing. I think it's at least for me, a new formula for games. Because I feel like a lot of games these days can be very copy and pasty in terms of like combat or mechanics or just how everything works. So it was very refreshing to jump into a role. First of all, second, third, whatever. Again, I love the interaction between Amicia and her little brother. But to feel that differing gameplay, to feel that little bit of dread, like, I can't screw up. Otherwise, I'm done and I got to start over. That's new. That's very new. Like, you don't feel that much anymore. There's always a grenade or a smoke bomb or dodge. That's another thing that took me off guard. You can't dodge. So I was like, oh my God, wow, okay, this is tricky. Like, you really got to be careful. It was nice. It was really refreshing. I loved it. Did you guys love it? Tell me what you guys thought. Tell me what you thought about it. See, I'm getting a little too excited. About rats. I know, I love it. And then I'm jumping into Gotham Knights later. I've heard a lot of flack about it, but you know what? I'm a huge Batman fan, so we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of A Plague Tale Requiem. Did you play Innocence? Did it live up to that like sequel? Because I know when the base game is really good, the sequel, I mean, that's a big pair of shoes to fill. That's a tall order. It's like, yeah, slam dunk first game. Now follow it up and make it better. That's tough. Let me know. I hope everyone's having a great day. It's Friday, at least when I'm shooting this. So happy weekend. Halloween's coming up. I'm thinking maybe some Dead by Daylight on Halloween. Or if there's another horror game, maybe some Phasmophobia. I don't know. Not Phasmophobia. We'll do some Dead by Daylight. Let me know what you guys thought of Plague Tale Requiem. I loved it. I'm definitely going to go back and play more. Even though I beat it. It's great. It's great. Anyway. Hope everyone has a great day. Oh, I forgot to tell you to stay caffeinated. That's right. I'm talking to you. Stay caffeinated. It's a dangerous world out there. You got to stay alert. Keep that blood pumping. Keep your brain working. Stay caffeinated. And have a great day.